Today my guest is Mr. Aamir Akhtar from Arvind Limited, the CEO of Arvind Limited. Hi Aamir.
Hi Sandeep.
How are you?
Very well, thank you Sandeep.
So we are in difficult times and everybody's in a lockdown.
Absolutely, that is correct Sandeep.
So how is the situation in Gujarat, in Ahmedabad, where you're living?
So Ahmedabad or Gujarat is no different, Sandeep, as compared to rest of India. When it comes to the statistics, of course, the number of cases in Gujarat are higher. But when we look at this in context, it is because the testing is higher in Gujarat. So there are more tests being done, so that's why there are more cases being discovered. So it doesn't really need doesn't mean that it has to be panic. But yes, the good news is that the recovery is faster. There are more people recovering and going back home. So with that, hopefully we should be fine. In some, as really, the country progresses.
Yeah, I really hope so. People have been talking that let's say by May end we should be in some ways out of this situation. But let's hope and pray for that.
True.
So are we seeing any kind of restarting of the textile industry in some small way? Let's say for Arvind or for other industries in.
So as per the plan that government had rolled out, 21st was the date when government said that they will start allowing certain industries with certain do's and don'ts. So the government did that, and in Gujarat, there are certain industries which are not in the municipal corporation, which are outside of municipal corporation, which are in export processing zones, which are export-oriented units. So those are the ones which have been given permission, and especially industries that have people staying within the campus. So with some important measures, of course, social distancing, of course, sanitization, and all those prescriptions. Along with that, they have been allowed to work, and certain industries have started working. Certain spinning units have started working, and I'm told that there has been export from Gujarat also over the last 2 or 3, let's say last week, there has been export of yarn from Gujarat. But the fact remains, Sandeep, that unless the whole ecosystem starts operating, that means the customers, the supply chain, unless the whole supply chain starts working, in isolation to work is suboptimal.
It's very difficult. And I think basically the bigger units will have better chance of operating as the things open up, because the smaller units will not be able to follow the SOPs and all the procedures which the government is asking for. So maybe government will be more comfortable starting the bigger units first.
So yes, let's say each side has its own advantages and disadvantages. So the bigger industry has its own challenges of, there is a certain minimum threshold level that you need to operate, because your boilers are of a certain size, your compressors are of a certain size. So unless you're operating at a certain threshold level, you will be extremely inefficient. So,
this huge crisis which no one expected, what is your analysis, how it is going to hit the denim industry in particular and textile industry, of course, in general, in India and around the world? What is your analysis of that?
So, Sandeep, my analysis cannot be very different from the analysis that all the sort of, all the, let's say, the whole talent pool that we have in the industry that you've been talking to, all these leaders that they have been sharing. So of course it's like it's a big black swan event. Nobody expected, nobody could have ever imagined something like this to happen. So the fact is that it is not really something that we've seen in the past where demand has crashed or where the supply has had a problem. It is an accident. So as we recover from the accident, because there's no structural fundamental problem, so possibly, as soon as the accident part starts coming under control, things will start gradually moving back to normalcy. That's what I feel, Sandeep.
In terms of retail sector in India, do you think the online, the e-commerce might be the first one to recover, and slowly and gradually, probably the brick and mortar stores will?
So Absolutely, Sandeep. I mean, that's a fact. We've seen that even before this problem, the online, the e-commerce was where the numbers were really, really growing because of all the options it brings to your table, for all the convenience it brings to your table, right? The sort of even the let's say the advantages in terms of pricing, deals that it brings to the customer. So on its own strength, online has been very, very I mean, it has really been on the move in the country and all across the world. And so for sure, in a situation like this where you really can't move out, then this whole thing about things getting delivered to your place obviously gains more importance. And as we've been seeing all across, that it's these delivery startups, it is these e-com online organizations that are on the hiring spree right now. So they're hiring people because they see that coming.
So I mean, even the brick and mortar stores might be looking at shifting, their sales to the online portals, and also that till the time they are back into shape, they might be trying to take advantage of the e-commerce. They're already doing it, but of course they will try to do it in a more better way.
So I think both have their own strengths, right? Both have their own spaces. Brick and mortar, the experience that we get out of a brick and mortar is something which is very difficult to duplicate or to sort of mirror in the e-com and the online. So it's more about convenience, it's more about options as far as this e-com bit is concerned. As far as brick and mortar is concerned, it's more about that experience. So typically, let's say if you want a cup of tea, right? So you can order the best of the tea at home, right? And at a very, very affordable cost, you can get a cup of tea sitting at your home, right? But then you want to go to a Taj, right, a 5-star hotel, because that's about the experience, right? So the experience starts the moment you're wanting to get into a 5-star hotel, right? So there's somebody who's opening the door for you, there's somebody who's saluting you, and then you get in, there's great music, there's ambience, and then there's very fine tea served in great china. So it is that experience, right? So there is a space for that experience. So consumers who look for the experience as things settle down will need to go to brick and mortar. And at the same time, e-com has its own pluses.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, I think the stores are already planning some kind of, safety measures, the health measures, even when they start opening, and, they have to make the consumers feel secure. So do you think in India also, the retailers are thinking on these lines that we have to, when we come back in a couple of months, or let's say 1 or 2 months or 3 months or whatever, so they need to give security to the customers in some way, in terms of sanitization, in terms of, the products are, I mean, it's safe for the consumers to come, how can they make, do you think they are already planning, or they should be planning for this?
So Sandeep, I believe it will be a new normal, and it will become like a second behavior for all of us to accept these new norms of entering public spaces. It's like, if you go back in time, you'll remember that one could walk into 5-star hotels, right? One could drive into 5-star hotels, park the car and get into the 5-star hotel, right? Into a hotel or into a public space. But now, when you want to get into one of those places, first your car is stopped, they ask you to open the boot, they ask you to open the bonnet, right? And then you sort of, walk in, and then you get into that space, and then you have to put your bag, your wallet, and then you walk in through that, right? But you don't see this as unusual, abnormal, that has become second nature to us. Same is true that, when we used to travel internationally or even domestically, there was never this kind of security, right? But post all the global terror problems and things like these, security issues, that's when now it's a huge struggle when you go through security, right? But then it's, you have built it into your schedules. So it has become second nature for you, and you get used to it, right? So it will be a new normal as we move along, and we'll see all these kind of things happening, some social distancing, of course, norms and things like these. But human beings, evolution, is all about, moving forward, accepting things and taking things into one stride and moving forward.
Yeah, so we'll all settle down in some way or other. We'll accept the situation, and because this disease is really not going away so fast. I mean, nobody sees it going away for another 1.5 years at least. So probably we have to all of us have to adjust to this new norm.
Yeah, that is correct, Sandeep. I mean, humanity has been faced with such challenges, very, very often. So right now, because we're living this moment, it is really weighing on our minds, and it is a huge challenge for all of us. But every decade, if you see, humanity has been challenged with diseases and things like simple that what we feel are very, very treatable now, like malaria, like dysentery, like cholera, like pneumonia, tuberculosis. When these diseases came to light, then at that time it was as desperate a situation. People didn't know how to handle it till the vaccines were found. But humanity finds solutions and moves forward.
Yeah, I think that gives hopes also. And in terms of because now we are all digital, we are now talking digitally, and you must be working digitally with your colleagues every day at home. So I think your work processes would have been converted to digital processes. So you think this will carry on also, and this will further increase the digitalization will further increase in terms of working on the industry, and industry will definitely in some way benefit out of it even in the long run.
So clearly, Sandeep, this has been a huge revelation for a lot of people, right? A lot of people who never, because of their own sense of inertia, or for their own reasons of not being able to look beyond what they've been doing on a daily basis, they were never able to understand the power of this. And now that we have been challenged to work from home, to be at home and still sort of run our regular lives and our businesses, our work, that's when we realize the power of this. We realize that it is possible to do a lot of things digitally and remain connected and still work. So this again will be a new normal. One will be able to see how to see that you're still able to communicate, to work, to deliver on all your objectives through the digital route. And a lot of work is happening. We've seen it. We've also seen valuation of the digital players going up dramatically, right? That's because the whole world is seeing that happen. So it is being endorsed. There's a sense of endorsement to this whole thing. Having said that, also, like I was talking about brick and mortar and digital. At the same time, personal connect will also have its own importance. So it is not that it will be this at the cost of that. But yes, a lot of work will move to digital platforms.
In terms of consumer preferences, what changes do you see specifically in different regions, let's say in India or in Western world or the Asian countries? Do you see there will be some different consumer preferences will be cropping up in terms of
Sandeep, consumer preferences, I think one is the immediate term, the immediate situation where people would like to be safe, they like to be careful with whatever disposable incomes they have. So one clearly sees that consumers would like to move towards the value segment. They'd like to get more value for their money. So let's say things which are less discretionary. So workwear, if you're talking about denims, so denim, workwear, kids wear, this is to some extent non-discretionary. You have to have these things on you if for your regular work. I think there'll be a focus on these. There'll be a shift towards these segments. But gradually, as things sort of improve, then people will start getting back to to differentiation, because finally fashion. Humans are about differentiation. You want to differentiate yourself. You want to look different. You want to look good. So that's when you start moving towards fashion. So the two primal, let's say, psyches of individuals, of consumers. So greed versus fear, right? So right now it is about fear. So you're seeing that in the stock exchange, you're seeing it in their buying behavior, you're seeing it everywhere. You're seeing everyone is investing in gold because it's about fear. So right now fear has taken over. But gradually, as things improve, you'll start moving back from need going to want, right? Typical marketing, marketing basics. So as you start shifting from need to want, that's when the whole fashion and design and differentiation starts kicking in. And hopefully, Sandeep, it shouldn't be too distant in future.
So, but do you think this will be similar for all regions, or different regions might have different perspectives? So consumers might behave in a different way in different regions.
Well, so even now, if you really see, Sandeep, there is a slight difference in the behavior of consumers on a geographic basis. So there's certain economies that are very highly driven by consumption, right? So Western economies, developed economies like US, like Europe, like Japan, they are primarily consumption driven. 80% of the GDP or more is driven by retail, by consumption. Whereas, there's certain other economies, and if you talk about our trade, there's certain geographies which are primarily focused on manufacturing. So there, the behavior is very different, right? The consumer behavior is very different there versus economies that are very high on consumption, where the consumers have been fed and have been used to consuming a lot.
Yeah, so those differences will remain, and we'll see. I mean, coming out of this crisis, we'll see that these differences will come out in different ways.
True.
Some consumers might, we've been hearing about revenge shopping. In US, people will come out and do a revenge shopping. So, and some of the regions it will be, people will reevaluate. In Europe, people are talking about reevaluation of their needs, what they should buy and what they shouldn't buy. So, I mean, you're right. I mean,
we've all heard this revenge shopping become such a buzzword, with this whole Wuhan, people going back to shopping. But one has to see as to, what is the extent of this, right? I mean, how much of revenge shopping is going on. So the situation on ground is not as as in, let's say, as rosy as it seems when we hear about China revenge shopping. If you look at today's Bloomberg report on China, we still have issues with people sort of not the malls being empty, people not going back to to life the way we expect them to.
Yeah. And in terms of global cancellations of orders, there have been huge cancellations everywhere. Every region has suffered it. So India has also suffered it to a great extent, I think. So that also is what I've seen is probably it is a little different from region to region. And in terms of fabric and garments, there is a difference also, because fabric is still somehow manageable and garments is much more difficult. So do you think in India also this extent of cancellation is huge and people are suffering, especially the garment exporters?
For sure, Sandeep. There has been a huge pushback from customers across geographies, and people have come back with cancellations. And so when they have come back with cancellations to the government vendors in different geographies like Bangladesh, India, Vietnam, Cambodia, of course, Africa, that has seen a pushback to the whole supply chain. So that's come back to fabric and then even further down. So that's there for sure, Sandeep. We have seen that happen, and it has been a great learning in seeing as to how people have reacted, how brands and retailers have really reacted to this to this situation, and very interesting, a lot of very interesting experiences in terms of seeing as to what really separates men from boys, as they say. Right? There's some brands and some retailers who have been very, let's say, supportive, who have been very logical about it. But there's some who have really gone into a knee-jerk reaction, and which has really created a lot of aggravation across the supply chain, and a lot of it was not really merited. If there had been conversations, if there were discussions, I think what really happened was that simply pressing the panic button, right, and simply sending cancellation messages. That was a knee-jerk reaction to the situation, and it was not really merited. Because what really happens, Sandeep, is that these large organizations, among the largest players in the ecosystem, they have an endorsement value, right? So if they act in a certain manner, if they say something, right, there's a sense of endorsement to it. People across the supply chain start believing that that is the right behavior. Possibly that is the right thing to do if someone is doing that. Right or wrong, but this is how it works. So, I've seen that a lot of people, their first reaction was cancel everything, right? Hold back everything, don't ship. And then when they took stock, a lot of people came back and said that, look, let's have a conversation. I need this. Can you do this? There's some people who even said, who came back and said that, can you do things a little faster? And when do you think things will improve? And what will be the lead times when things improve? When can you ship? So, this was not really, in hindsight, Sandeep, this was not really merited, this kind of a knee-jerk reaction. And also, the whole aggravation in the system, because you really see this whole industry is a very unique industry where the product that you make is perishable almost, right? Because, you're making, let's say, the garments, a jeans when it is being made. It is being made for a certain season, for a certain size, for a certain price point, for a certain, let's say, certain person, right? Certain brand, right? But it has got all that written there. Now, it is a perishable product, right? And a lot has gone into making that product. So if you suddenly put everything on hold, obviously the whole system comes under a lot of aggravation. And what is really happening is that then it has got a dominoes effect, right? So the whole supply chain starts taking such decisions. Then what you realize is that, look, there are multiple solutions, right? For example, there are governments in various geographies who are giving support. They're giving payroll support to people. They're giving support of, bills being discounted. They're giving support for bills to get postponed with certain moratoriums in certain geographies, right? Even in the consuming geographies, even the brands and the retailers, in the geographies in which they operate, you're seeing that, government is giving support in terms of furloughs. So it's not that people have lost their jobs. They technically are on rolls and they're being supported by the government, right? So if you have conversations, if you sort of, you try and find solutions, there are solutions. And, a lot of solutions have been found, but they've been found in hindsight and after they have, maybe caused some damage, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was already done. But I think still some retailers and brands, they came back and they, try to rescue the situation, try to...
For sure. No, some of them have been, not only some, a lot of them have been very sensible. They've been very mature about it, right? They have been very, very sort of, data-driven. They've been able to very quickly, get a handle on the situation and come back to their vendors and try to solve things and move forward.
In terms of denim, as you know very well, the denim has progressed from workwear and to various segments, and now it's fashion wear and it's office wear. Everything it has covered also in segments. So, do you think we can also contribute to the global industry in terms of a health and wellness product in a strong way, because the situation is demanding that?
So my view on that, Sandeep, is that every product category has its own strengths, right? Denim has been into workwear, as you're so rightly saying. It has its birth in workwear, right? So even today, in workwear and then, let's say, to some extent, personal protection also, it is used in certain industries, right? Denims have certain FR treatments and things like these. Having said that, so I feel that as we emerge out of this, there will be influences of the current situation on denim industry also. So on a denim product, there will be influences where people will want things which are, let's say, to some extent antimicrobial or sort of some which will deliver some performance, right? I believe that there will be some influences, but they will remain influences. A category shift where denim moving into being used for personal protective equipment big time, I don't really see that happening because the demands of that product category are very different, right? You need fabrics which are very, very lightweight, right? You need fabrics that are breathable, and you need fabrics that are very affordable, low cost, because it is primarily use and throw, right? If you make an overall for surgeons, right, or in the health industry, it has to be very lightweight because they have to keep wearing it the full day, and then they have to keep changing it every few hours. So it has to be like use and throw. So that's why the melt blown, the sort of the industry of non-wovens where you can make some very, very lightweight non-woven fabrics with basic polyesters and with some, of course, with some lamination and treatment. I think that industry is delivering the real value that is required by the personal protective equipment industry or requirement.
But I mean, in some way, probably in the denim industry will also try that,
Sure.
with some products, which especially, I've been looking at some of the fashion brands, they come out with masks, very designed masks made of denim. I was reading a report today that Japan has shipped almost 3.86 billion masks in the last 1.5 months.
True. So Sandeep, my view on this is that there are certain things which are influences, which are topical. They are very topical in nature, right? So what really happens is that there's something going on. So for that, there will be influence in this industry, right? Because we are very closely linked to fashion and to lifestyle. But finally, what continues? So there are certain trends, but there are certain products which continue, which are real solves. So when you are offering a real good permanent solve, then it becomes permanent. Say, for example, if you see the whole denim industry moving to stretch in a big way, right? Because that's a solve. That is giving you comfort. So comfort is an essential need. It is servicing that essential need. Similarly, if you really see workwear, so denim serves that workwear in a big way, right? I mean, it is easy to handle and it gives you protection. So it is servicing that essential need. So that's why it has remained for so long. It has not gone out of fashion. So there will be certain influences which will be topical, that are current, contemporary. But the real thing that will go a long way will be when there's some real consumer need that you're solving.
In terms of sustainability, sustainability has been such a big keyword for last few years. And what do you see? How do you see the sustainability changing after this crisis? Because this is a question I'm asking everybody, because this is so bigger part of the industry. Do you think it will be becoming stronger, or it will be losing its focus in some way? How do you see the sustainability going after this crisis?
But again, Sandeep, my view is that sustainability is something that has gained traction over so many years because it is something which has been driven by the consumers. So the consumers are sort of wanting sustainability. They're wanting to sort of move towards a good, clean planet, and that's why it is that, let's say, need which is being translated to the brands, which the brands are hearing all across, and the retailers, and that's how it is getting sort of deployed right through the supply chain. And if you really see this whole conversation or this whole push around sustainability has done a lot of good work, right? So, for example, this whole thing about zero liquid discharge, this whole thing about zero discharge of hazardous chemicals. I mean, that our denim industry used to have this whole thing about sandblasting, right? Which was really, really bad for health. And then it was this whole movement towards doing things in a nice, good, clean manner that built public opinion around against sandblasting, and that was banned. Similarly, this whole conversation around potassium permanganate or this PP spray. So sustainability is something which is a need. It is a big need driven by the consumers, and that's why it will continue to sort of be important. And we have seen that there's some people who really, really push the pedal on that. There's some people who have been absolutely non-compromising on that. And so I think it's a part of DNA of organizations. There's certain organizations where it is very deeply embedded. Now the thing is that temporarily, right, for some time, possibly the focus would again be on survival, on sort of somehow coming out of this, right? So maybe there could be a lesser focus. To me, it is like Sandeep. To me, it's like this announcement that you hear when you get into the aircraft that in case of a drop in oxygen, or to pull the mask, and if you have a baby with you, then you first put the mask on your face. But the objective is to save the baby, right? The objective is not because you put the mask on your face and you forget it. So there are certain things that you need to do, that you believe in. These are things that you really stand for. Those big, let's say, big big changes that you're driving as an organization. And for sure, I mean, you know, Sandeep, that as Arvind, it's a very strong belief as far as sustainability is concerned. And so I don't see that it might slow down a bit, but I don't see that going away anyway.
Yeah. Coming to CSR, we've seen a lot of companies in India doing a lot of CSR activities. So, anything you would like to contribute in this regard?
Sandeep, CSR, one is that CSR at a very broad level, and we all know that, so I don't really want to talk about that. I would like to share with you our experience, our personal experience in these current times, right? Because CSR has got very large connotations.
Yeah, from
right?
and basically.
And as Arvind, we're doing a lot on that front.
Yeah.
But again, a very great study, a great insight in human behavior and human nature, Sandeep. Santesh campus, where we have a large operation in Ahmedabad. So there are a lot of villages around that campus, and there are a lot of people who come in from those villages. And so we wanted to, as Arvind, we want to sort of work and see if we can help people there, because people are not being able to get out of their homes, and to see as to what we can do. So we approached those villages, and basically we're working with the government, right? So there's a whole government machinery which is working. So there is this the local collector, there's the deputy collector, and then we have the panchayat which has been mandated. So we approached the panchayat, and the panchayat said that yes, we are keen, and we would like to run community kitchens, right? So we said that we'd like to work with you, and we'd like to sort of do this bit with you to give you the provisions for that community kitchen. Interestingly, they came back to us and they said that you're doing this good work. We have approximately 10 days of provision with us. So please hold. We will work with these 10 days of provision that we have with us, and then we will come back to you when we need this. Right now, this is such an insight, Sandeep, that people in these times also. I mean, normally one would think that, look, try and you serve whatever you have, right? I mean, if you're getting something, take it, keep it, and you never know when you will need it, right? So hoard stuff, right? That's what one tends to think, that's what people will think. But imagine the strength of our people, right? It really overwhelms me, right? I find it difficult to even talk about it. Yeah. People in the villages, right? They have this approach that, hang on, let's try and see whatever we have, and we manage with this. So on a certain sort of philosophical level, Sandeep, there are a lot of people who have gone out and asked for help. But my heart and my thought goes out to those people who are, who find it difficult to ask for help, right? There are many people who are so high on their esteem, right, that they find it difficult. So to getting to those people, right, trying to identify those people who need help in a very big way, but are not being able to ask for that help. But having said that, so 10 days later, those people came back and they said that, okay, now we're running out of rations. Can you please help us? So then our teams, went to those villages, and then they worked with them. So there are a lot of villages around that area where we're working with them. And they're also, right, small insights, right? They're saying that, look, don't give us wheat, give us rice. Because wheat is very difficult to sort of know where does one go and grind and do all that with wheat or get atta. So give us rice. It's easy to cook and easy to handle. Just give us rice and oil and some sort of basic stuff, and we'll be able to pull through. So that is what they have come back and told us, right? So we were tied up with those villages, and we are tied up with the sarpanchas. We're working with the government, and then we are also sort of working with delivery organizations who are being able to deliver stuff. And with that, so that's what we've been doing, something. And now and also we're working, as you would have read in the news that we are working on this whole personal protective equipment, which comes certified from CITRA organization, which is the right kind of performance to be able to handle this coronavirus. So that we are doing working with the government on that, and we have developed those kits, and those are being given to the government.
Yes, I saw that in the news, and of course, Arvind has always been very strong in the community development and CSR and other things. So I mean, this is I'm very sure you're doing a lot of things out there. Before I go to my next question, I just want to say to all the people who are viewing that if you have any questions, just share. And I'm asking one or two questions from Aamir, and then probably you'll take up questions.
Sure.
So, okay. So my next question is always like, what positives you can take away from this? What are the strongest words which come to your mind for this situation, and what are the positive things you take from this crisis?
So, Sandeep, I feel that when we look at the numbers, right, of $8 trillion already has been committed by various governments. So Germany and Italy, 30% of their GDP. US, 10% of their GDP, $2 trillion, right? Japan, 20% of their GDP, $1 trillion. So $8 trillion have already been, given by various countries, and there's more coming. And this has been given in the form of, direct transfers, small and medium enterprises, loans, equity, all kinds of, supports. So there's a huge amount of liquidity, there's a huge amount of money which is going into the system. So as things improve, I believe there will be a lot of liquidity. There will be, fueling of demand, right? So, as this problem settles down, and one reads that, in our trade, stores in Germany, CNA has started opening stores. New York has opened stores. Zara has opened stores in Spain. We hear that states in US, right? 10 states have already been on. Balance states are looking at trying to get back into some kind of work from 1st of May, 15th of May. More states getting back to work. So we see things easing. We see things will start. Of course, nobody has got a crystal ball. Nobody can say with certainty. But still, if you see the narrative in the media, like India also, right? So 21st, some bit of opening. 3rd May, next level, some more industries hopefully opening. Along with that, better testing, better equipment, more medical help. So, and there's so much of, so much of liquidity being sort of given to economies all across the world. Hopefully things will be fine, Sandeep. Hopefully we'll see some good action as we come out of this.
I'm sure we'll come out of this very soon. And let's try to take up some questions.
Sure.
Okay, let me see. Okay, this is one question. Probably it's already answered by you. How fashion will change for denim post COVID-19, and what will run and what will not? This is a question by Prasad.
Sandeep, I believe that for some time to come, it will be basics, necessities, workwear, kids wear. I think that's what's going to be the focus to begin with. And then gradually, as things start easing out, people will start focusing on fashion and differentiation.
Just give the questions. In India, we have been looking at excess capacities. Will COVID rationalize this?
For sure. And that's not only true for us, I think that's true for all industries. Right? One will definitely see that there will be some rationalization of capacities, and across the supply chain, there will be, for sure, Sandeep. I feel that one has already seen that people, already on the retail side and on the brand side, people filing for Chapter 11. We see that, those that is there in the media, right? So one sees that, and with such a big sort of impact, with so much of demand destruction, it is likely. It is bound to happen.
People are talking about 50% reductions in the supply chain and all, but nobody knows right now for the moment.
Correct. It's difficult to give a number, but yes, for sure.
Sure, it's going to happen. And Okay, let me take the last question. He's already answered. I mean, you have already answered regarding the overall made from woven denim instead of the other products. You already answered that. So I think we got some questions because there's so many other questions. I have to scroll a bit. Okay. I think we are done with the questions. Now, can you do you want to add something else from your side regarding Arvind or regarding the industry or anything else? Well, there's so many people, so many friends online watching this talk. So, would you like to say something?
No, Sandeep, I'd like to end with a couplet which says that सितारे डूब के करते हैं अनवारे शहर पैदा, which it's a couplet in Urdu which means that once the stars go down, it is allegorical. Once the stars go down, then the beauty and the light of the dawn emerges, right? That's what it really means. So let's just end on a positive note. I think we have, as things settle down, we will see our industry bouncing back, and denim is a very resilient industry. It has been on for close to 150 years. So we all have to look forward to this.
It was a wonderful, wonderful couplet. And thank you so much for coming and joining for this talk. Really appreciate. And thank you so much.
Thanks, Sandeep. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
All the best to you. Stay safe.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.